What up, watch peeps? I like turtles, Seiko turtles. Well, the animals too. Actually, little known fact about me, when I was a kid, I had like 10 pet turtles in a giant outdoor enclosure that me and my dad built. It was crazy. Anyway, today's watch reminds me of the 6105 Slim Turtle, except with crown guards and a Swiss movement. Let's check it out. I'm Pete, and we are chilling with watches. Wrist check. Oh yeah, I'm wearing a new build I just finished. Actually, you guys have seen this dial in hands before in a different watch. It's a SNK dial with SNZH hands in an AliExpress case. 36 millimeters, pretty sweet. But we're here to check out the Millar watches. Now, if it's pronounced Millar or something fancy, I apologize. I'm not fancy, but I read it as Millar watches. The Millar watches Scuba, and it is one cool turtle-esque big chunky fun dive watch. Now colors, I said it comes in some cool colors. Besides this blue, there is a green, a red, and of course your standard black. But they're really nice shades of the colors. You should check them out. They list these as 42 millimeter dive watches, and they are going on Kickstarter for about 440 bucks. Not too bad for a Swiss movement watch. So let's check out this dial because there are a lot of details to take in. It's got depth and it's got texture. It's just a very visually interesting dial. What you see we have is this kind of flat center portion where the hands post is. Then you'll see the hour markers and the date windows sit in this outer grooved sector. Very cool. Then you have your minute track on the outside, which is kind of angled up and away like a minute track. Now on that center portion you have their logo. Not too sure how I feel about the logo, but I get it, Millar watches. Otherwise, you just have 3 lines of text down here at 6 o'clock. Now, the handset is very obviously the Omega Seamaster handset. I kind of wish they would have picked something a little more original or a little something that wasn't so readily identifiable with another watch. It has a really nice single domed sapphire crystal. As you'll see, it distorts here at oblique angles, but that crystal does sit really super flush with the bezel and insert. It's just very satisfying to tactilely as well as visually. Now the bezel, it is a Lume bezel done in BGW9, whereas I think the dial is done in either C1 or C3. It is some green Lume. Now the bezel action, I would call it, it's light resistance. I would maybe call it a clicky feel to it and just a very little bounce on each click. It has this kind of great knurled grip, but it's still kind of hard to get to that knurling because it sits so flush with the case, as you can see here. You can see it has these flat case sides, and that is what made me think of the 6105 Slim Turtle. And this is done again in a combo of brushed and blasted. You'll see it's kind of brushed on the sides, blasted on top. Blasted outer links, brushed center links. I've seen this on some other watches. It's only a couple times I've seen it, and my brain is getting used to it, and it's a pretty cool combination of finishes. Now the case side profile has a great angle or turn down to it. Really hugs the wrist. On the other side, you'll see these crown guards. Has a 6.8 millimeter signed crown, and these crown guards, I'm a crown guard guy. I like them. These kind of flow very organically out of the case. I think the crown guards are a nice addition. They don't get in the way at all. Flipping it over to check out the case back, you'll see we have our pretty standard case back layout. Spec sheet around the outside with a logo in the middle. That's all I really want out of a case back, other than for it to be smooth, which this one definitely is. You can also see here we have solid end links, and they are female, always preferred, as it allows the bracelet to drape right away. These are fully articulating links as well, so we'll have no problem adapting to the shape of your wrist. Now taking a look at this bracelet, I mentioned blasted on the outside, brushed on the middle, 20 millimeters all the way, no taper. I do kind of wish it had a 2 millimeter taper maybe. 4 might be too much, as this large watch head would need the weight on the bottom to counterbalance it. The bracelet uses split pins for sizing, no problem. It was an easy swap. I've never had a problem with split pins, and they also usually allow the links to be a little bit thinner. Now the clasp is a nice solid milled out clasp. I love this on-the-fly adjust mechanism. I kind of like the way you can still adjust it even when it's still on your wrist. I've never had any problem hitting these buttons by accident and releasing it. But I do wish it could be a little smaller. It has to be kind of large to accept this 20mm bracelet. And it does have kind of sharp square corners as well, but that might just be a finishing thing that goes along with being a prototype. This one seems to have settled in at about plus 20 seconds per day. It is a little bit fast. Again, that might be a prototype thing because the movement is running super clean with a nice high amplitude of 323. You only ever get that with Swiss movements, and you'll see absolutely zero beat error, super clean trace, just running a little fast. Going over the dimensions, they list this as a 42mm case, and it is 42mm at the bezel, which you can see sits nice and flush with the case on this side, but not so flush with the case on this side. Now, when I measured it from in that groove there to its opposite on this side, I got closer to 44mm. And the lug to lug, as I measured it, came in at 50.1mm. Measures 13.2mm thick, and it has a 20mm lug width. Now, going over some of the other specs, we have a nice single domed sapphire crystal. Sits incredibly flush with the case. It's using a combination of BGW9 blue lume in the bezel and either C1 or C3 green lume on the dial and handset. Now, it's running the Swiss Sellita SW200 movement, and it has 300 meters of water resistance. Now, on the OEM bracelet, size for my 7 1/4 inch wrist, it comes in at 177 grams. Here's how it wears on my 7 1/4 inch wrist. Here you can see that curvature to the mid case there, how well that conforms to the shape of my wrist. Makes it really sit kind of nice and low. If you look from this angle, it doesn't feel like 13mm. You can see that 20mm bracelet, kind of chunky clasp as well. But I'll say with that clasp and bracelet, it does have nice balance. Here's how it compares to the Doxa 300T, which is about 42.5mm. And you can see it does present as a much larger watch than that. Although their thickness, it looks like a much thinner watch. I think they're actually pretty close. Here it is alongside the Seiko SPB, which is, I think, 41 or 40.5 at the case maybe. And again, you can see it's kind of showing all that size. Even though the dials are pretty similar, it is that large cushion case. Lastly, here it is alongside a Seiko SKX, also about 42.5mm. You can see that SKX also presents as a smaller watch as well. That really bulky cushion case really adds some heft and size to this one. All right, let's check out that Lume.
Peep the Lume.
And check that out. The Lume is pretty freaking sweet on here. So I stand corrected. There's BGW9 on the hands as well. So the bezel and hands are presenting as blue. The dial presenting as green. Looks white in this light, but it's a really great application of Lume. Looks really cool. So there you go, the Millar Watches Scuba. It is a fun, chunky watch. It comes in a really good set of color choices. Now their Kickstarter ends on Wednesday, August 31st, so I'll put a link in the description. Go check them out. All right, before I let you go, sneaker check. Wear my Polaroid dunks, what's up? That's it, I'm out. If it's not too much trouble, please like, subscribe, and come back next time. Peace.